Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Markov666 as our Wehrmacht, and his opponent today is going to be Sarg GX as our British. Map today is going to be Tuscan Vineyard. Vineyards, plural, I don't actually know. Hold up, I have a tool for this. Tuscan Vineyard, singular. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this map at this point. It's been out for a little while, and they had it prioritized in the queue for a while there, but they've since made it back to normal, and I feel like it's been a little bit since I've seen it, so here we are. I like this map because it is distinct from other maps, especially with this, this distinguishing feature of one big cutoff connecting you to rather accessible fuel, and then your other side is a little bit busy with resources, and it can lead to slow pushes on the resource-heavy side and fast pushes on the cutoff side. I just like the way it plays out. I also like that these victory points are way on the edges. You know, it forces players to actively decide to go out there. Relatively standard build for both our players here. Our British player has gone for double Royal Engineer into infantry section, while our Wehrmacht player has gone for triple Pioneer for that capturing power and is going to have this heavy machine gun for support. And nice little formation here, keeping his Pioneers out in front of his heavy machine gun. That sandbag almost looks like a terror battle group sandbag in the sense that it sets his machine gun up to do that, but we're not going to see it here. Like this placement, covering a nice little arc of where the aggression might come from, and it is going to get a piece of these Royal Engineers here, so lovely setup there. Going to drive our British player back to base a little bit. But those Royal Engineers are preventing this capture for a short period of time there. Infantry section finding an angle, using that sight blocker to allow them to engage, and we see all sorts of field defenses there. Some mines, there's some sandbags. This does seem to be a popular mine spot. Units tend to come through here, and even if they don't come through here, they retreat through here. So take notes on that one if you're looking for mine spots to use on this map. Royal Engineers look like they want this fight. British player might be able to sense it, that there aren't a whole lot of units on this side. Grenadiers on the way, though. So should be able to help out. There's a big flank happening down on that bottom side, or top side, I should say. Infantry section getting an angle on this heavy machine gun. Does look like he's going to drive him back there into the arms of his Pioneer friends. This fight, Royal Engineers definitely going to lose that fight, and there's the retreat path I'm talking about. That unit going to get eaten alive by that mine there. Infantry section is going to win the fight on this side. Pioneers trying to help out, but there's no way they're able to make this happen. The good news for a German player is that he's managed to secure this fuel for a short period of time here. At least deny it to his opponent, I should say. That's going to be a bad retreat path. He's going to retreat now. And ultimately, looks like our players are going to trade halves of the map. No one's going to come out too far ahead or behind. I guess we did see those Royal Engineers going down, so our Wehrmacht player is going to be feeling pretty good about that. He was adding on the Luftwaffe company, but he switched over to Panzer Grenadier company. And with control of the victory points here, I would say a firm lead for our Wehrmacht player. A little surprised to see those Pioneers retreat. I do understand, wanting to retreat a unit to get it back to full health, but I like to encourage folks to think about if they could keep that unit on the field longer and capture some more territory, because now the unit has to walk to and from base again. Not saying what he did was wrong, just saying that something to consider, right? You see a recce package added on here for one of these infantry sections, so we're going to see some flares and potentially some artillery barrages from base. And a platoon command post on the way. Humber armored car, very likely, I would say. Panzer Grenadiers being added on now. So, British player has an uphill battle ahead of him here. Good news for our British players that a Humber armored car is going to be a little bit stronger against this particular build, because AT guns, while good, aren't as scary against the mobility of the Humber armored car, I would say. Pioneers instantly retreating there. Flare being used to reveal this heavy machine gun's position. Pioneer's going to force back that squad there. And British player is seemingly content to hold the territory that he has. I don't blame him for that. Infantry section trying to get out of the way there, using the sight blocker, but that one model going the wrong way. Gonna result in that infantry section being suppressed there. 2-pounders available for our British player. Is gonna add on a heavy machine gun. Didn't quite have enough for a Humber armored car. I guess? Question mark? I mean, I guess he still does. So he was floating some manpower is what I meant to say. Wonder if he was floating manpower in anticipation of adding an AT gun out of the platoon command post to potentially deal with something like a scout car. But hasn't seen it yet, so able to opt for heavy machine gun and a Humber armored car. And did our German player just go for Vet 1 already? He did. So early Vet 1 Panzer Grenadier officer quarters. This is not the first time I've seen that concept. And it results in really fast leveling Panzer Grenadiers. But it comes so early that not a lot of units benefit from it, at least to start. So it's a slower build, right? Not necessarily a bad thing, but a slower build. And, you know, as I've heard folks say, that tempo is very important in this game. Right, if you get behind on tempo, if you don't have fuel, if you don't have high veterancy units, if you don't have territory control, it can really put you behind. So, and I know that might sound like a no-brainer, but isn't always. Infantry section grabbing back this cutoff point has been denied fuel for about a minute here. So, German player going to be happy about that. You see a pack gun on the way to deal with this Humber armored car. But this map, I think, this Humber armored car has lots of places it can be that are helpful. And we could see it taking advantage of its mobility to go around the AT guns. Especially around the victory points in the wings of the map. Love to see this infantry section get involved there. Is going to do so now. Wouldn't mind him actually going to stand on that point. Guess he doesn't know where the heavy machine gun is. Where is the heavy machine gun? Coming out of base there. But is going to prevent the capture of that point. So that's okay. Vickers grabbing up this middle. Stealth pack gun ready for the fight. He's already veterancy 1, of course. And these grenadiers have just been chilling over here. British player totally not interested in fighting them off, nor is our German player interested in grabbing territory. A little surprising, I would say. But German player feels like he's built enough of an advantage, and that slowing down his opponent without capturing more territory is good enough for him. And he's probably correct, but I would say that in general, you want to be probing that fog of war, you want to be capturing territory, you don't want idle units just chilling in houses. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, including that one. Grenades on the way for our British player, that's going to help out. Whole lot here, and we're actually going to see a 4th infantry section. So that can be tough to sustain, especially if he's bleeding models, which he's done an okay job of keeping his models alive. We haven't seen him get super aggressive. Does already have the medical station, so that too is an important part of going up to 4 infantry sections, and I think we're going to see infantry training next from him. And given what he's up against, I think that's a great choice. I'm a little surprised he didn't go for Australian Light Infantry. I know it's a little bit late for that, and the strength of the Australian Light Infantry is that they come right at the beginning of the game and let you capture territory. At the same time, they are decently effective against infantry and can be a cheap alternative in terms of munitions to infantry sections. But it does feel like our British player is going to be going Bren guns across the board here. And with infantry training, that's going to be really, really scary. Is opting for an AT gun next, potentially worried about something out of this mechanized battle group, which of course he doesn't know that his opponent has. but his game sense is telling him that a vehicle is just around the corner. And I do think it's going to be a Stug assault group here. Definitely the popular option compared to the 8-Rad. That said, I think an 8-Rad would perform just fine here. Humber armored car dealing with these Panzer Grenadiers. Yeah, and as I'm thinking about it, he could probably just skip the Stug assault group altogether if he really wanted to, and that's what he's going to do. Panzer Company on the way. You know what's crazy to me is all I'm doing over here is thinking about what our players are going to do next based on what they've seen so far. And our players are making those decisions while also controlling their units. And I'm just like, when I'm playing, I have a really hard time making decisions because it takes all of my brain power. Yeah, high-level play is just so impressive to me. And it looks like an artillery barrage was called down there in the middle. Going to drive back those units. Infantry training on the way for Sarg. He is going to need another AT gun here. Doesn't know it yet. And maybe a slight build order mix-up there. You know, he added on the AT gun because he didn't know what his opponent was doing. But with perfect vision, infantry training would have been better to start. And now he could add on 2 AT guns. Of course, it's probably not going to matter in the grand scheme of things, but, you know, something to think about in your games. And these infantry section blobs going to be really scary once they pick up their Bren guns. And is going to be slowly building those up, I imagine, here. And get one every 2.5 minutes or so. So over the next 5 minutes, watch for these guys to be upgraded. Victory points, very even. Triple cap coming down for our British player, though. So going to be bleeding his opponent rather quickly. Did opt for the 8-Rad there. I think probably didn't really care about which option he wanted. I think he just wants Panthers, if I had to guess. I think we're probably going to see some Stosstrooping added on, potentially. He could think about another AT gun, although I don't think it's necessary. He should know that he's ahead on fuel in general, and that second AT gun, while it would allow him to one-shot the Humber armored car, it's not a deal-breaker one way or the other. This heavy machine gun's going to eat it, though. That marked target from the Humber armored car, allowing those units to do huge damage to the heavy machine gun. And does have it encompassed there, could potentially steal it away. Nice little flank here from all these units. AT gun out of position. Pioneers going down. Where are the Panzer Grenadiers? Here they come now. There's one in base as well. Stosstrooping being added on. British player not going for this heavy machine gun. Instead going to destroy it. I think I would have rather seen him capture that in that particular situation. But that is his prerogative to not capture it. But that's a dead Humber, isn't it? Panzer Grenadiers do have decent penetration. AT gun missing. Wow, I cannot believe that Humber armor car just lived. And an 8-Rad added on in a rage. I'm kidding, of course. But I'm actually surprised to see the 8-Rad at this stage. I mean, I guess he's only up against one. Oh, grenade coming down on the Stoss. Going to immediately retreat. Not going to lose any units there. It's actually pretty nice. He traded the time of those Stosstrooping for 35 munitions from his opponent. Actually, when we see a second recce package... Oh, that's a dead infantry section. Oh, no! Yeah. Both players making a couple mistakes here. No surprise. To be expected in the heat of the moment, of course. 8-Rad finding a nice little angle here outside of that 6-pounder's range. 6-pounder setting up. And ready for this push in by the 8-Rad. Is going to get a shot here. Might hit this blocker. Nope, going to go through there. Pioneers on the scene. But 8-Rad going to bail out. We do see a second AT gun. That looks like a 2-pounder to me from our British player to help deal with that 8-Rad. These infantry sections holding their own against the Panzer Grenadiers at long range. And a slow game here a little bit, I would say. Gonna be heating up fast. Both players losing a couple units, so relatively even game overall, but man, that triple cap leading to a very quick bleed. German player down to 280 points here. Does have the Stoßtruppen. 8 Rad, I hear him hovering around. He's going to come on over and help out. And those AT guns going to set up here. Shouldn't kill even with 2 hits. Yep. Smoke popped to ensure the survival of that unit. And these Stoßtruppen content to take these long-range fights. And I really like Stoßtruppen mixed in with Panzer Grenadiers. You get kind of a mix of the Panzer Grenadiers charging and your opponent having to focus them, and the Stoßtruppen just wrecking everything at long range. Did he get Panzer Vet? No, he didn't. Wondering if he might pick up that Panzer Veteran C. What's it called? Panzer Officer Quarters? I think so. That's the wrong one. Yeah, Panzer Officer Quarters. Yeah, Panzer Officer Quarters with those Stoßtruppen can be pretty ferocious, and then once he starts adding on Panzers later, Panzer IVs or Panthers, I should say. And a mortar up next. I like this mortar. Mortar into fixed, team weapons can be really darn strong. We see team weapon training from our British player yet? Not yet. Does have the over repair. So now this Humber armored car can survive 1 extra shot. And just going to eat some damage there, but out of vision. So AT gun actually going to walk forward here. That's not a place he wants to be. Smoke coming down to try and zone out those AT guns, but actually they're going to be completely unaffected. Second AT gun on the way for our German player. That's a fine choice. Does know that his opponent should have tanks relatively soon. I think we see a... Yep, he's got it now. So there comes the Crusader. And yeah, because of the width of this map, I think a Crusader is going to be a better choice. That said, Matildas are like freaking god tier against this infantry-heavy, elite infantry-heavy composition. Did a Royal Engineer go down? Oh, right here in the middle, right in front of my eyes. So that's a little bit of an unfortunate loss. Humber armored car in a decent position, trying to smoke off this Panzer Grenadier. Smoke coming down. Should say the pack gun. And that Humber armored car in a bad spot now. Does have the over repair. Actually in a decent position against this pack. We do see those infantry sections moving on the right side. Stoßtruppen murdering everything. Heavy machine gun gonna prevent these Panzer Grenadiers from moving too much forward. Heavy machine gun gonna eat a bundle grenade. And nice little fight there for our German. Felt like he was ahead the whole way through. Pack gun's gonna find their mark. That's a Vet 2 Humber armored car, nicely done. Crusader hitting the fields. Could see Panthers at any moment, if he so chooses. This Crusader's been over-repaired already, so being very active with his engineers there. And this guy's been upgraded twice here. Well, he's got the commander mode enabled, and he's going to have these spotting scopes to really let him see out into the fog of war. And I imagine that these passives stack. I don't actually know that to be true for sure. Actually, let me find... I think I can show this. So he can see out to there. Now he can see out to there. And I guess my question is that 50% more than his max vision with the plus 10? It seems like it. Very cool. That is one heck of a long-range sight unit. Sorry guys, back to the action here. Crusader finding some Pioneers. Gonna run these hedgerows all the way over. That's a dead Pioneer, surely. Yep. And surprise Crusader gonna do some damage. He did call off the Humber armored car, but that's a whole bunch of mines waiting for trouble there, and is gonna find it. I don't think the squad's gonna die, but it's not gonna feel good. That's for sure. Probably going to eat the second mine here as well. The question is, does he clip this one on his way out? For his sake, I hope not. That would be aggravating, losing a losing an infantry section to triple mine, and now this guy has a potential to run through that mine. That's gonna be awkward. Sturmpanzer on the way. Curious, I mean, I guess he's only seen one Crusader, and he does have 2 AT guns, so I guess... I mean, Sturmpanzer is really good against AT guns. It's okay against Crusaders. Crusaders do have that mobility to, you know, kind of skirt around the... Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. I would be so pissed. AT gun? Oh my god, dude. Our British player's falling apart here. Lost the infantry section of the mines, losing this AT gun to these Panzer Grenadiers, getting aggressive. Does have 2 Crusaders on the field, but one of them hit a mine or a snare at some point. I'm not even sure where that unit is. Looks like it's on the far right side. Second Crusader going to save the day, though, here. But is going to lose that 6-pounder, and oh my god. Just one push by some Panzer Grenadiers. I mean, that just shows you how much of a knife's edge every single game is on as players build up their army compositions. And it was a combination of factors that just absolutely ripped him to shreds. Good news for him, getting back that heavy machine gun. So only down, well, only down an AT gun and a infantry section. He's going to add that infantry section back on. That's interesting to me. I mean, I guess I'm over here thinking that maybe foot guards could be helpful, but against that level of veterancy on those Panzer Grenadiers, as well as a Stoßtruppen, foot guard are going to struggle hard into that. But this Sturmpanzer, man, I think this is going to really put an exclamation point on this game in combination with this triple AT. German player doesn't even really need to get aggressive here. Love to see a unit rotate to this bottom side. He is. It's nice to see him using his Pioneers for that role. I mean, Pioneers are... This is the strength of Pioneers in the late game, is their capturing power, and that's what that triple Pioneer opening lets you do if you're able to keep them alive. It's the same thing with Scouts from the U.S. Army, right? Or even Royal Engineers from the British Army. You can keep them alive, translate them into the late game. This is what they can do for you. So, third Crusader on the way. So that's a lot of Crusaders. Could see some dives potentially. We are seeing mines continuing to be placed for our German player. Wouldn't mind seeing some more. That is going to be the weakness of these AT guns, is their propensity to being flanked. And with 200 munitions in the bank, wouldn't mind seeing that at all. British player's got a ton of munitions, so we're probably going to see some creeping barrages here with that built-up munitions. Could be really freaking devastating across a couple of AT guns. All these AT guns working in stealth here. Third Crusader rolling out. And both players probing the fog of war here. Slow bleed for our British player. Sturmpanzer are going to find this heavy machine gun and absolutely going to own that unit. AT guns bouncing off the Sturmpanzer. Crusaders trying their best. AT guns ready for it, though. Barrage called down. It's going to be the zeroing artillery. Not going to connect with anything, but is going to put an end to that fight rather quickly. And I just love watching explosions, so I'm going to make you guys watch that. Like, is this really necessary? You know, anything that was there would be dead. Like, by the fourth shell, everything there is already dead. But funny to see. And yeah, a little bit of a slow game here. I mean, Wehrmacht player definitely out to a lead, but I'd love to see him get a little bit more aggressive. But I guess with his composition, the only units he can really get aggressive with are this Panzer Grenadier and... Well, I take it back. I mean, this can be an aggressive army. He just has to reposition his AT guns to support. And the mortar can kind of just hang out wherever. So, I don't know. Panther on the way. The Panther is going to be challenged to deal with. Wouldn't mind seeing another AT gun. This, I can't remember if the Vet 2 on this guy... Yeah, the Vet 2 is that 25% weapon pen on the 2-pounder. And these Panzer Grenadiers... I mean, I guess this is what I was asking for, right? Our British players hold up on this top side. These Panzer Grenadiers are going to take advantage of that and grab away this cutoff point. We do see the Panzer officer quarters on the way, so that's going to hit all sorts of units here. Namely the Panther and Sturmpanzer, but it's also going to give a veterancy gain boost to those Stoßtruppen. Infantry section in trouble. I think they're going to make it out, but only barely. And is going to go down there, so what a devastating loss. That's that Vet 3 bonus on these Panzer Grenadiers paying dividends. They bumped that to like 40% accuracy or something stupid. And I don't mean that... It's very strong, and I think it's well-balanced, but, yeah, very strong. Stupid strong. And, man, this Sturmpanzer just friggin' owning here. And an interesting byproduct of all those craters there is the infantry that stand in this light cover group up more, and that's going to be tough to deal with. We are seeing a creeping barrage here. Looks like it's going to creep that way. So getting a little bit of damage, but not enough to write home about. And 17-pounders. I love this. You know, it didn't even occur to me that he was going to do 17-pounders, but I think this is a great answer. The trouble with 17-pounders, of course, is their lack of mobility, while the Panther's strength is the mobility, I would say. But in combination with these Crusaders zoning out the infantry, I think a 17-pounder could be really good here. That said, it feels like our British player needs a way to get into these victory points, and our German player just completely has the center locked down. So either he's going to have to swing to the edges, or he's going to have to use that creeping barrage to really drive his opponent back. So that creeping barrage... I mean, all barrages in general are used to make your opponent move, right? And if you need to move your opponent out of the middle so that you can take it and, you know, also hold it, that's what it's for. So another heavy machine gun on the way for our British player. Continuing to float a bit of manpower here. I suppose we could see a 4th Crusader, potentially. And he did... Oh, he actually called off one of his Crusaders. So I wonder why he did that. Crusaders getting aggressive here. Not doing a whole lot to those Vet 3 Panzer Grenadiers. Do they have evasion? I don't think they do. 17-pounder going to set up on this Panther. Shells bouncing right off the front there. Does see the 17-pounder. 17-pounder should get at least one shot. Nice connection there. Panzer Grenadiers going to try and get up on the 17-pounder. Those Crusaders need to move forward to not let that happen. Heavy machine guns covering, though. So no problems there. And this game is going to continue to be a slugfest here with lines drawn here through the middle. Crusaders taking advantage of their mobility, going to go up top, remove those pioneers. I don't know if I finished my thought about these craters, but forcing infantry to group up, and then the Sturmpanzer comes in and does huge AoE damage to clumped up units is awesome. Nice takedown on these pioneers. We've seen our Wehrmacht players successfully using those pioneers all game long to pick up territory in the wings. And our German player, having that unit removed from his roster is going to be a little bit annoying for him. Heavy machine gun, seems like every shot from this Sturmpanzer taking out 3 units here. Heavy machine gun running for their lives. 17-pounder not able to get a shot there. Mortar bringing down smoke, covering up that 17-pounder. Well done. And it's going to be a surrender from our British player. Yeah, I mean, felt like an army composition. So, 2 things. It felt like an army composition was very, very strong for our Wehrmacht player. Triple AT covered by Panzer Grenadiers and Stoßtruppen into an AT and an anti-infantry tank, just really shutting things down for him. At the same time, I think our British player suffered from unit attrition in the mid-game. He dropped a few high veterancy infantry sections that were difficult to replace, and then his transition into tanks didn't really feel like he took advantage of the mobility, and we never saw him really try to make any aggressive plays with those tanks. So, yeah, a little bit of a different pace of game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.